Hey guys, this is Gabe Dimmick from the Baseball Rebellion, and today I'm happy to bring you the swing breakdown of Texas Rangers rookie Nomar Mazara. He's off to a great start to his rookie year. He's only 21 years old. He's already hitting 320 with 8 homers, and he just recently hit the farthest ball so far in 2016, at least projected by StatCast, which was 491 feet. And I've been watching his swing since he came up. He's a pretty highly touted prospect, and he reminds me a lot of when Robinson Cano was younger, and watching him. Mazara has a lot of power. He's got a lot of speed in his barrel, and the ball just jumps off his bat, much like Cano. But in a similar way, it doesn't look like either one of them is trying really hard. It looks effortless. The power is easy, and part of the reason for that is that the sequence of their swing is so smooth and so good that they can produce so much force without it looking like they're out of control, and it allows them to be very consistent. Mazara also reminds me of Cano in that he has the ability to know and enact to know when he gets a pitch that he can do damage with. He does a great job. Like on this pitch, it's maybe a slider that was or a changeup that was hung, and he did some damage and hit it as far as you can really hit a baseball 491 feet. But he also, I've seen a lot of his at bats, and he does a really good job of, let's say he gets down in the count and it's a really good pitcher up there, and they throw a pitcher's pitch. He does a great job of doing the best he can with it, and knowing how to find the barrel and flip a single to left field if he needs to. But he also has that ability to absolutely demolish the ball, and so he just has a really nice feel for hitting and for he gets ahead and counts a lot, and when he does get behind in the count, he does a good job of fouling off pitches until he gets his pitch, and he's just a really good hitter, kind of all around from a swing side, from a mentality side, a smoothness, and a plate approach side. He's just a really fun hitter to watch. So we're going to take a look at his swing, but before we do that, let's take a look here at the StatCast numbers for this particular swing, so we can see what the swing I'm about to talk about translates into. It's a 91 foot home run, farthest home run of 2016 so far. He hit at 27 degrees off the ground, which is sometimes considered a high line drive, or maybe a kind of a lower fly ball. Some of the home runs you'll see a hitter more in the 35 range, but those are ones that are a little more sky high. This one was driven out at a really good angle. Velocity 107.8. That's really hard for something hit at this distance or at this angle. Most of the time when the angle is that high, the numbers are going to be a little bit lower, and he just absolutely crushes this ball. So let's take a look at his swing. And by the way, Mazara, he's tall. He's 6'4", 215. That's relatively big, but he's only 21. My guess is that he's going to fill into that body a little more, and he'll probably end up being 230. Pushing 230, maybe 235, and then it's just going to be unreal for this guy and how he moves. And he's a little taller. I mentioned Cano earlier. He's a little taller than Cano, a little bit of a bigger natural build than Cano. So I think the future is bright for this kid. So let's take a look at his swing. The first thing that I noticed that's interesting is actually his back knee position. It reminds me of Jose Bautista, where the knee is almost turned in a position where it doesn't even look super comfortable, but it's really important in the process of moving forward that this back knee stays inside the ankle, and it also allows for him to move forward very calmly. So this leads into what I was saying earlier about how he moves forward, or how just in his swing he moves like Cano in a very smooth manner, and that back knee staying inside allows him to move forward slowly and controlled, and doesn't let his weight get too far back. So that's one of my favorite things. And then as he goes into his leg lift, really watch his hip. So his hip is going to counter turn back. So he's almost going to, if you watch his back hip, it's almost going to turn toward the Rangers dugout over here, okay? Almost like he's showing his butt to the pitcher a little bit. But a lot of guys who do that move tend to show too much of their back to the pitcher. So like Yasiel Puig does this well, but sometimes he turns his back in too much, and then his front shoulder wants to fly out first, and he gets in trouble. But Mazara here stays a little more square to the plate as his hip turns in. So his hip is going to turn. It's going to basically load up that back hip a little bit better than it would if he just stayed neutral. And he has a nice kick. So as he loads that hip, the front leg angle goes back this direction, which I really like. Again, the hip is kind of loaded back. And from here, he's going to move his body forward. Now, it's very calm, but yeah, there's definitely some forward movement here. I mean, if I put a line right down the middle of his head, we're going to see that he moves his center of gravity off of that line. So really good. Another thing to watch here, and this kind of goes together, but if you watch the separation, so if you watch his hips, right as he's about to land, really watch his pelvis, and this back hip is going to start to release here this direction. And at the same time, what that does to his legs basically is, if we kind of put right here just in a circle his knees, okay, we're going to see his knees kind of turn out of the circle, and that just comes from that pelvis turning. And so look at the separation that he gets. It's unreal how much open he is with his belt line compared to his chest. And that doesn't come from turning his chest way back or really showing the pitcher a ton of his back. I mean, he can very clearly see the pitcher with both eyes. He's not turned way in. And that is just unreal separation, and that's what leads to this 491-foot homer. But what goes along with that, and what helps keep his chest from opening up as he gets into this hip turn at his landing, is this back shoulder row. So watch how his hands are more in front of his shoulder to start, right in front of his the center of his shoulder. And what you're going to see is that as he's going and he's moving, he's going to pull his back shoulder and his back elbow into a row position. JK just did an article on the row a minute ago, or he literally just put it out, and it was talking about the back elbow of different guys. And here you're going to see Mazara have that move where his elbow is about shoulder height, and he really rows it back toward the stands back here, toward the dugout. And again, it's not a position where I think he's showing too much of his back to the pitcher. He's doing a good job of staying fairly square, but as his hips open, he's really resisting his upper body here. So there's two pieces of this separation. One, it's the phenomenal lower half, and he allows his knee to get open to where you're going to see when he straightens his leg's going to have no problem getting straight. So his pelvis gets open, but that's only part of it. The other part is that he's able to keep this upper half closed through that row right there, and that's a really, really impressive move in his stride as he goes into his landing. So I think it's cool how much of his swing has already happened, how much the importance of the swing has already happened, and he hasn't even necessarily decided to swing yet. So as he does decide to swing and he goes into his turn, really watch this front leg. So there's very little movement in a circle once his heel is in the ground, okay? So, obviously before he lands, his knee is facing the camera, facing more this direction. But like I mentioned earlier, when that pelvis starts to open, you're going to see that knee, because if you watch his heel is really in the ground right at about here. Okay, so you can still see that space between his heel and the ground. So he's not even in the ground here. He's really in the ground right about there. And so you can see that knee again is open, and you're going to see that knee really be able to come straight back into his body without any movement really towards the dugout first, once his heel is really in the ground anyway. And so that allows for this front leg to straighten extremely well. And you're going to see how early his front leg straightens. I mean, it is locked out. You can see a little white blur of the ball way out here. His bat's still back here, and his front leg is already straight. And so the efficiency of that really happened because of, again, how he landed. At the same time, as that's happening, really watch his back hip and how his back hip is pulling up and forward, and the reaction that has with the lower parts of his legs, because he uses his legs really well, uses his pelvis really well. So you're going to see the hip pull the knee, and you're going to see the knee pull the foot. So you see the foot kind of coming just slightly forward here. But again, the foot is a reaction to the hip, and the hip works extremely well here as the front leg straightens, and this ball is absolutely crushed. His posture is going to be really good. So once he lands, when we talk about posture, we talk about the head and the spine remaining still. So let's watch the head and watch how motionless it is as he turns. And that's the that's the calmness, that's the smoothness. And a lot of people would see, bet way back in his stride that he moved forward, right? So they would say, oh, he has too much head movement because his head moves forward and slightly down. Well, that's just being athletic in your stride, but this is where the calmness stays and a lot of the power happens, is that head and that spine really remaining still all the way through contact and through his finish. It's unreal, how still his head stays here. And you can see some really good vision. He's hitting this ball out in front because it's inside, but he has great vision here. Awesome job here by Mazara to handle this pitch well and really use his hips, his bigger muscles, his legs, and allow those shoulders to come through. So again, a lot of this swing happens before he even decides to swing, which is really interesting. Let's take a look at his bat path. So this is an inside pitch, and you're going to see that he really hangs on to the turn a little longer. He's not going to release his barrel super early away from his shoulder, mostly because of, again, how inside this pitch is. So you're going to see his barrel's turning, but again, right here, he's fairly far into his turn, and the barrel is still by his shoulder here. So if we continue this path and we're marking the edge of his barrel, we're going to see it's coming kind of down behind him and then up in the way of the ball. So we can see the path of the pitch, and I'm going to draw that in just a second. I'm going to kind of back up and draw that. But yeah, we're watching this barrel come through, and we're just going to stop it kind of right out in front of him. And so I'm going to fit that curve. So that is his barrel path. So for whatever reason, my software didn't make it come in this top spot here, the top of the curve. But we can see that the barrel would have come down behind him back here where my red cursor is, and then it really comes up in the way of the catcher's mitt and up through it. So we can see it's definitely up before contact. Since contact's right here, we can see this barrel's definitely coming up through it. If we back this up a little bit, let's check the path of the pitch here. I'm going to mark that in red here, and we're going to see this ball coming in to our picture here. We know the ball ends up on the catcher's mitt, and you're going to see his path is really on that line for a long time. Okay, the center of his bat is really on that line from the ball coming down from the pitcher's mound down to the catcher's mitt, and that barrel path is phenomenal here, making this Nike swoosh shape. This is a little bit of a lower pitch, so mid thigh. It's a pretty good pitch for a hitter, but mid thigh pitch. And what allows him to turn really efficiently to this pitch is, notice that when he lands, the angle of his barrel. So his barrel angle is up, and if he landed really flat, this pitch may be too low for him to hit it as well as he does. But that height of his barrel when he lands allows him to turn it just a little steeper and get up behind this ball and create a lot of lift in his swing. And he does just a great job here again of getting the bat in the way of the ball when he needs to, his pass in the way for a long time, and then he just releases out through it and finishes that full turn. So, overall, there's a lot to see here in Mazara's swing. But I think kind of the most important, the most impressive thing here is actually this landing position and just how separated he is and how much tension and torque he's created already before he's even necessarily decided to swing. Or he still has the option to not swing at this point. So, guys, thank you for watching this video. He's one of my favorite guys to watch, and I hope you get the chance to watch him over the next year, so he has got a really good chance of winning Rookie of the Year, and he's got a long career ahead of him. So thank you for watching, and feel free to comment below on the article or on our YouTube page. Thank you.